Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Shayla and I'm the creator of Junk Drawer Mom. And for the last few videos, I've been talking about anxiety and just how we as parents have to deal with this and all the things, right? So I thought it would be a really good idea to actually interview a healthcare worker so that we could discuss some coping strategies, because Lord knows Shayla doesn't know everything. So today I have Briana with me. Welcome her. Yay! So Briana is a clinical social worker.
Yes.
I'll go ahead and I'll let you introduce yourself.
Cool. So my name is Briana Slade. I'm a clinical social worker licensed in the state of Maryland. During the day, I work for the Department of Social Services and foster care, and by night, I'm a therapist for Safe Harbor Behavioral Health, which offers Christian counseling, but also just individual couples, families counseling. So I've been doing that for about a year now, and I love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So tell us, how did you even get into the social working scene?
Oh, wow. So I actually was a college student. I was 21, and I actually started to have symptoms of anxiety and depression. It was something my family never really talked about, my friends too. My community never really knew what was going on. I ended up, sitting on a couch just like this with a therapist.
Yeah.
And just feeling like it was really cold. It was really clinical. My doctor just wanted to write me prescriptions of medicine and didn't really want to listen to what my problems were. And so at that point, at 21, I was in school originally for education. And I just my parents didn't like this, but I completely changed my major, had a whole extra 2 years of school, went to grad school to get my master's in behavioral health social work. I was just completely inspired by my own bad experience, but it made me want to just do better. I wanted to invite people into a therapeutic setting where they could feel comfortable, they didn't feel judged, and they didn't feel like someone just wanted their problems to go away. I really tell my clients, the main solution to your problems is our relationship. We process things together. So out of a bad experience was really my path. It's been a blessing.
Yeah. Do you find that a lot of people in that kind of age group go through that same thing? Is it college life? Is it age?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think that age is so hard. Between 18 and 21, you're trying to figure out who you are spiritually, emotionally. I mean, you have all of these expectations on you on who you're supposed to be for the rest of your life at this young age, and you barely even know yourself. I find it so typical to see clients, even just friends and cousins, people in my church community. That age is so tough. So I think it's typical of that age to have a certain level of anxiety, a certain level of depression. You're finding your identity. And sometimes that goes on longer for us into our 20s and 30s, and sometimes longer than that.
Yeah. That makes sense. So in the last few videos, I talked about signs of anxiety, triggers of anxiety. Can you talk about some of that stuff as well?
Absolutely.
What you went through?
Yeah. I think sometimes, like I said, it wasn't something my family talked about. It wasn't something we talked about in school. The way mental health is kind of discussed now, there was none of that. I started seeing, and what I see now even, sleeplessness, changes in appetite, whether that's increase in appetite or decrease, lack of socialization. So a lot of isolation, people can't get out of bed, they don't want to relate to others, they don't want to go out, you lose interest in things that you normally were passionate about. And of course the things we see in movies and TV, the racing heartbeat, the sweaty palms, the racing thoughts, those kind of, even panic attacks out in public. People are triggered by highly, situations where it could be a grocery store or museum or school, and that's where people drop out of school or they stop working or going places, not because they don't bring them joy, but it's just too much going on. Absolutely.
All right, so the reason why you came to this video is to figure out some coping strategies. So let's talk strategy.
Yes.
What would be a good place to start for somebody who just has no idea of what to do?
I would say talk to someone. That sounds so simple, but I have so many people who come and sit on my couch and they're like, my family doesn't know, my church doesn't know, my job doesn't know, just because there's this level of shame that goes along with having anxiety. I think people are very capable and very professional and intelligent, but that doesn't mean we don't have sicknesses or issues or challenges, you know, and they're not permanent. But I would just say, you know, reach out to someone. If you're not able to go to a family member or a friend or a pastor, what have you, therapy is not always expensive. Safe Harbor, you know, offers all sorts of therapy for all sorts of insurance companies or whatever you can pay out of pocket. We do therapy in church settings, in school settings. We have private offices, so it makes it really flexible for people. But the first thing, most of all, is like to fight that sense of shame and to really reach out to anybody and talk to them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think, you know, when I first started my whole therapy journey, it was like, I just had to start. That's all it is. Like, it doesn't matter who you go to, because that person might not be the right fit for you. Maybe it is, but just start.
Absolutely.
Like,
as simple as that.
Yeah.
As simple and as hard as that, because sometimes it's hard to take that first step. But yes, that's the biggest one I'd say to start off with. Yeah,
that's awesome. Okay, what else you got for us?
Okay, I would definitely tell people, I'm like, it's not just talking. Like, people can come and talk, and I can talk to people for an hour every week. But you really have to go back home. And what we've talked about before, I kind of work from both perspectives. In school, they have all these clinical scientific terms, two of them, cognitive behavioral therapy and then psychodynamic therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is really, in layman's terms, it's really just looking at your thoughts and how they affect your behavior. If I can work with you to get you to stop speaking to yourself negatively, to stop thinking that everything's your fault, to stop thinking that the world is out of control, if we can really work on those thoughts and changing them and looking at catching them, that will change some of the anxious symptoms that you're feeling. I even look at, you know, psychodynamic, which, like I said, a very fancy clinical term for basically, you know, we all have childhoods. We all have childhood traumas or experiences that we carry with us as adults. So I ask people their story, like, tell me from birth to now, like, what has happened in your life. And I have people who will say nothing really serious happened, but, you know, they've lost both parents, or they were abused or neglected, you know, these things that are so normalized to them but really are really traumatic. So I really sit and process those things and have people write out their stories, like looking and being like, oh my gosh, like, this was normal to me, but it's not really normal. You know, so I just work on from both of those lenses. I look at diet. You know, what are you eating at home? Are you eating a lot of high fat, you know, sugar? Like, everything starts in your digestive system too. So it's really this whole full circle. I would recommend people, you know, the very simple things, like therapy's great, but drinking water, eating healthy, resting at night. We live in a very electronic age. People are always on their cell phones. They always have the TV on. They're always listening to podcasts. Those are great in moderation, but go to bed on time. You know, wake up and don't look at your phone right away. I feel like that's the biggest source of anxiety for a lot of people. Between social media, news is right there. Everything's just, you go to sleep and wake up to all of this. Those simple things. Enjoy your family. Enjoy self-care. The lost art of journaling. I love to get people to buy a journal and invest, to hear your own voice, to see it on paper, to realize like you have this unique personality and vantage point in life. I think gives people a sense of just latency, like they have a little bit of control over their life. If you have a source of faith, like, I would definitely lean on that. A lot of my clients are Christian. I tell them all the time, like, look at those spiritual disciplines, you know, not just you know, prayer and going to church, but really I look at Job a lot. I process that with my clients all the time. Like, you get to tell God how you feel. You get to tell him that you're angry or you're upset or you feel like it's not fair. You know, I think we've lost sight of, like, there were a lot of weeping prophets and weeping, you know, characters in scripture. And so, it's all of those things, you know, I would tell people. But I work from workbooks, you know, we do worksheets. Sometimes, you know, I have the Calm app. People do those to fall asleep. Mindfulness and meditation, definitely. Sometimes people think it's like, you know, trying to sit under a waterfall. It is sitting outside, it's being in your kitchen, but just stopping your brain and just taking deep breaths and just being present in the moment. I do all of that, and people can do that at home. They don't have to wait to come to therapy to do it. But slowing down, like, that is our culture is so fast, and no wonder our hearts are going fast, our thoughts are going fast. We really don't take time to just take a deep breath and just take everything, you know, at a slower pace. So just like from a holistic perspective, those are things I work on.
So I want to talk about this breathing thing, because I hear people, you know, reference just deep breathing or, you know, take deep breaths. What is that like? are there apps? Are there things that, like, what do you do? Do you just like breathe? Like, you just be breathing?
Or sometimes it feels like that. For real though, like sometimes it's like, oh, this is it. But yeah, like I said, so the Calm app, I do recommend that one sometimes. There are free apps, so you don't always have to purchase them. But it literally will have you breathe in for like 5 seconds, hold it for 7, and then breathe out.
Yeah.
And you do that so like in repetition. At first it feels like I'm not doing anything.
Right.
Like this feels like a waste of time. Or you fall asleep. Or all these regular things. But what it does is it fools your body. It's like when your body is in panic mode or in like heightened mode, like fight or flight. One way to trick your body into calming down, like that's not happening, is that deep breathing.
Right.
It really resets your brain. That's why I was like, it's your whole body. It's not just, it's your thoughts, it's your breathing, it's your heart, it's all of it. So the breathing really does more than we think. You just have to do it long enough so that it resets your brain and resets your heart. So yeah, I would tell people, I'm like, breathe in for 5, hold in for 7. Breathe out again. Keep doing it. It feels foolish, but do that like 3 or 4 or 5 times. Keep doing it until you feel an effect. But your mind is clear. You can move on, and you can do it from anywhere. You know, if you have kids, a spouse, single, wherever, you know, you can do it at work. So it's like I said, it's one of those things, you know, you don't have to go to a Buddhist temple to like learn how to do these like cool practices, but it does work, like with practice, with repetition. It's an awesome free just like tool to use.
Yeah. Is there a point, because I know some people that, you know, are watching this might think like, okay, well, I've tried all that. At what point do you think medication comes into play?
Absolutely. I think if you've tried to use all of those things, if you are talking to someone, if you are praying, if you have a really strong support system, and those things really aren't helping you sleep, they aren't helping you be able to be productive at work, they're not stopping tearfulness or whatever that may look like, yeah, I would recommend, medication. I even recommend natural remedies. So things, there are all types of, people do fish oil, people do, I think it's called GABA, GABA. It's all sorts of natural like vitamins that you can take. But after those natural remedies are just not successful, I would recommend, going to your general practitioner. Should have a working knowledge of anxiety medications, but if you feel like you need more specialized care, definitely seek out a psychiatrist. And if you are seeing a therapist, your therapist should be in relationship with trustworthy individuals.
Yeah.
And once again, it's like fighting through that shame. A lot of people don't like taking medication. And I tell people all the time, I'm just like, if you were to have diabetes, you would need insulin. If you had heart issues, you'd want to take medication for that. It's the same thing with mental health. The way that your heart can be broken or your back can be broken, your brain or your heart can be broken. And it doesn't mean it can't be fixed, it can't be healed. But medication really helps bind those things or helps you in the moment. So I agree. Like if those things just aren't working and you've tried them for especially a lengthy period of time, medicine, and it doesn't even have to be heavy duty. You don't have to get anything addictive. Ask those questions. Is this addictive? How have trials looked on these medications? Are these successful? Are people on these long-term or short-term? Those are good questions to ask a clinician, and then see what works for you. The one you try may not work well. You may feel drowsy or you don't feel anything. You can always ask questions. You can always try different things. There's so many options. I'm just like, fight through that shame of like taking medication. It's a vitamin. It's like anything else. But yeah, definitely seek that out because there are solutions out here that you can utilize.
Yeah. And I think like it's important, especially for, this is a motherhood channel, but like women in general, and especially women of faith, and then like to be a person of color.
Absolutely.
It's becoming less taboo than it has been in the past, but it's very much like, just pray about it. You'll be okay, but come on guys, like we got to get past that. Like, God uses people to help you, and so like, yes, pray, absolutely pray, and use your faith, but then like use the other resources that are around you as well. And I think it's important to point out, like, if you decide you need to go to therapy or you need to see a psychiatrist or if you need to take medication, like that's not defeat.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Like it's just a step in your process and, in your recovery and in your life, and I think that it's okay. Like we just have to get to a point where it's like, you know what? like it's okay. I can trust God in this area, but I can also do these other things.
Yes,
you know?
yeah. I always tell people, like, when Paul writes to Timothy in the New Testament, and Paul was a great man of faith, to say the least. But he wrote Timothy in a letter and was like, you know, it's not that he wasn't praying for, Timothy was sick, and it wasn't that Paul wasn't praying for him to be well, but he was like, drink a little wine to help your stomach issues. So I'm just like, people are like, this is that little bit of wine. Like, this is that little oomph to help those prayers that are also coming in. And even being a therapist, like, you know, I think that we have our faith, and I pray for my clients all the time. I tell them that it's not me, it's God working through me. But you know, Jesus was a carpenter. Paul was a tent maker. They had these other professions that God didn't tell them to stop doing. It was in addition to the work he had them do. So I definitely see therapy as, you know, it's my livelihood, but it's a part of that ministry. So it really, I get to tell people, like, this is a part of God's work, you know, on both sides. Because people definitely come in and they're like I said, my church doesn't know, because they would think that it's a lack of faith or what have you. And you're right, we gotta stop that. It's from good intentions. It's people trying to use scripture, you know, solidly and soundly. But it really hurts people. It really does. So I'm just grateful for you creating this platform to really get that message out. Like, we can do this holistically. Like I said, Jesus is the ultimate healer. But yeah, he uses community to help in that healing process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining. This was awesome. I want to do so. This was like my first official real interview, so I'm really excited about doing this, and I want to do this more. Like, you know, not only interview professionals but also other moms, because my story is not the only story. Like, and we are all here to help each other. Like, hiding is overrated. That is the mantra of this channel. Hiding is overrated. We have to start talking about these things, because listen, I know that I'm not the only one that goes through these anxiety things. So yes, again, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And yeah, let's talk in the comments. Connect with me below, connect with Briana. Leave a comment and let us know what you gained from this video. And then also, before we go, I wanted Briana to share how people can get in contact with her.
Yeah, that's awesome. So unlike every other human being on the face of the earth, I do not have social media, but I take email inquiries all the time. My email is Slade, so it's SLAD as in dog E, .Briana, BRIANA @gmail.com. So yeah, and I'll leave it in the comments for you too, that people can reach out to me with any questions or anything else. I'd love to hear from people for sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, hiding is overrated, and I'll see you next time.
Awesome.
Bye.